Hey guys, it's Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. So today we're going to be taking a look at Balar the Lost. Now this guy was available in a Deck of Fate event. When he came into the game, it immediately screamed to me that this guy was going to be super good for Chimera. Specifically a trial guy. And now he looks awesome, as you'd always expect with Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, particularly the shield looks phenomenal with his sword. I must say, they always knock it out of the park with the creativity for the Sylvan Watchers. Now, this guy, the reason why I thought he would immediately be super good for Chimera is because he had increased accuracy, decreased resistance, and poisons, but more importantly, with sensitivity. We all know that the trials kind of force you down the Lydia route, because Lydia is one of the few champions that has all the extras plus poison sensitivity. Although she doesn't herself have poisons, there's ways you can get around it, like you can reflect the poisons back, you can bring a poison set, or you can bring a poisoner with it. You don't really have the luxury always. He also has Leech, which is another trial requirement, and he's got some pretty cool damage potential here. He's got like 20% ignore defense when he activates poisons, and he's got some other parts of his kits that felt like, okay, this guy could be really good for Chimera. Now, I've titled my thumbnail for this, Balar the Lost Cause, because I've been trying to fit Balar into a Chimera team for about the entire week. I said I was back from vacation, then I didn't do a video for 5 days because I've been trying to get this guy into some sort of team. And I'll be quite honest, I don't think he really fits the Chimera mold, because it's extremely difficult for you to be able to find a team that you're going to be able to do anything with, because although he's got poisons, he has decreased resistance, increased accuracy, you do need things like the block damage if you want to go anywhere near the ram form, right? You want someone like a Finer, someone of those champions, someone who's got increased attack, increased crit rate. You need those buffs to do a lot of the trials. Now let's have a look at what kind of trials he really unlocks. So we can have a look at the trials. We know he does poisons, we know he does leech, increase accuracy and decrease resistance for himself and on the enemy. So straight away we can look at this and go, okay, well, he would cover the second tier of this, but we'd first have to break through the damage, so hopefully he would deal enough damage. Increase accuracy, well, he only places it on himself, so that's not really going to work because he doesn't place enough debuffs. He places sensitivity, decrease resistance, a poison, and leech. It's only 4. You need 7, so this really doesn't satisfy this requirement. He also he can't do number 2, can't do number 3, can't do number 4. He will help you place some unique debuffs. He does debuff a lot, but they need to be unique. He debuffs a lot of the same debuffs, not unique debuffs. So pretty much if you pick Balar the Lost, he's not great for ram form. Now for lion form, what are we looking for? We're looking for debuffs with the increased defense. Okay, if you can bring an increased defense, it works great. Absorb shield. He does do a good shield on his basic. Might work, although this, I haven't tried the new Chimera with this one yet, but I find this to be quite difficult to do. Block damage, he doesn't do that. 3 unique buffs, he doesn't provide himself, so none of this really matters. And then we do get to this part. So this is where he starts coming online. He will give you trial 3 unlock with leech, and he will give you this normal, you will easily get 10 debuffs with him if you put him with any other champion to do the decreased resistance. So you'll get these 2. But you can't then do the third one because he doesn't reflect damage. Then onto the Viper form. What do we get? First 3 doesn't apply. Next 3, okay, well, we get the poison and poison sensitivity. This would be super easy, and you probably can keep all your Chimera alive, your champions alive for 3 turns. This whole revive one ally when reviving multiple allies, it's kind of annoying, honestly. I don't really know many teams that want to lose a champion. And if you lose someone in Viper, it's pretty damning to your team generally, right? And that's why most people bring a block active skills or block debuffs. You lose someone, it's quite hard to recover from a Viper. Then we pretty much we can't really do this because it's the opposite form. So what would Balar the Lost give us? It would give us trial 2, trial 3 here, these 2, and that's about it. So actually, even though on paper you think, oh, he's got loads of different effects, he's got poison sensitivity, poison, he doesn't really give you an awful lot of trial unlocks, but he does give you a lot of problems. Problem 1 being he gives you a lot of debuffs, right? So I've been trying lots of different teams here. I've been trying with Glycad because Glycad kind of substitutes with the increased accuracy, increased defense for Marius, right? We can get some good increased accuracy, increased defense here. It also gives us the increased attack and the Veil, so it kind of gives us some of the other trials we would lose by dropping finer or something like that. So I can throw lots of debuffs here, and then I can start putting out some debuffs, right? So we can basically kind of go, okay, well, let's drop some things. So there's 4 debuffs straight away. This is problem 1. You will run out of debuff slots. He does, my guy is pretty squishy. He doesn't have his souls yet. Obviously, his soul is pretty huge. You can already see I'm at maximum. I've run out of space on my debuff bar, and it is because poisons, they kind of stack, and those things are kind of awkward. Now, in terms of a shield, the shield he does is pretty sizable, so you can use him as a great shield champion. But really what we are losing, right, what we're substituting is someone like a Marius that a lot of people will have at this point if you're really pushing Chimera like I am, or even if you're having someone like Toshiro or some of the other bigger damage dealers. You know, he's not really going to break the bank in terms of those damage outputs. Like, I can run 5 turns right now in terms of the damage that he deals, and I'm pretty certain that my Marius could probably deal more damage in 1A2 than this guy is going to be able to do in the entirety of this run, right? We had a 280k hit there. It's pretty reasonable, but it's nothing exceptional. And this is really the main thing. It's like, okay, if you're going to bring this guy for a lot of trials, he has to really give you tons of trials. I don't think he does. So that is kind of like why I titled the video Balar the Lost Cause. I went for him thinking, okay, well, he's going to be great for Chimera. I don't think he actually is. I think that's more systemic of the problem with Chimera being that you just don't have a lot of flexibility in your team to be able to satisfy all the trials. It's like taking all these, it's like taking all this Intranus restrictions, piling it into a 5-man team, and then still requiring 6 men to kind of fulfill all the requirements, like Hydra heads. You know, there's so many different mechanics you have to counter. If you really want to get a lot of trials, you need so many things on one champion because you just don't have the capacity. But his damage is okay. But, you know, we're at turn 4 here, and we've done 1.7 million damage, right? Even if I keep pushing through and I keep putting increased attack on, it's just not great. And the other issue we got is poison is not a great debuff for damage. It's great for the trial. It's not good for damage because the boss is going to limit how many poison damages you can do, right? He has this passive here where he will basically limit how much poison is to 20,000. So it's really the biggest problem with poison in itself. It's not a great debuff for endgame. Early game in Clan Boss, you absolutely love poison because it gives you access to damage you don't have. In endgame, this poison, it's just not strong enough, like 300,000, right? We did 2.5 million there. It's pretty solid. But if I regroup this, and all I have to do is run my normal team, and my normal team would be this team, like, I can pretty much, with one shot, no debuffs, just do one buff, and I will probably do 2.5 million. And this is kind of the problem. Now, I don't think this is a problem for Balar the Lost. It's more a problem for enemy max HP and Chimera. It's very hard to replace these top tier champions. And yes, you could argue you're comparing a 6-star Marius with a 1-star Balar the Lost. But we're like 5 turns, we're doing 2.4 million. 1A2 with no debuffs, I'm doing 2.4 million. It's very difficult. This team alone as well, because I've managed to get finer, can do the 10 trials. So is he a lost cause? That is kind of the title of this video. My original desire to have him was because I thought he would be great in Chimera, right? And we even ran some different builds. I'll go through the build and the skills in a moment. I ran a lot of things to prior optimize him. So let's have a look. Can we save Balar the Lost? Or is he literally the lost cause? So we have an A1. He attacks one enemy. Before attacking, he's going to place a shield on himself, and the value of this shield is proportional to his attack. Now, fortunately, if you go to hellhades.com, we pretty much pull out all the multipliers here. So you can kind of see from this system exactly how good that attack multiplier is. He's going to do a 4 times shield, which is pretty high considering most defense shields are about 3. So the shield is great. If you build a lot of attack on him, put an attack buff on him, it's a pretty good bonus. Very good on an A1 to give that kind of shield. 3.8 times attack here. So that's basically coming out at the moment on our damage ratings as amazing, kind of strong, middle of the pack, basically. Now, in terms of his A2, we got a 5.5 times attack. This is a single target. He's pretty much all single target, but with a little nuance, which we're going to go through in a minute. This one is coming at 5.5 times attack. Again, in Hydra, it's a bit higher. Legendary in Arena, it's a bit all over the place, but it's okay. It's okay. Obviously, he's gaining 20% every time he's going to activate a debuff. This one here, again, is Legendary. He's pretty much in the middle, top 100, top 150, nothing exquisite. A few things to call out here as well. There is now a new rating system on the website. You can see how many Chimera Trials he does impact. We talked about this. He impacts 6 of the 27. Felt good. Turns out wasn't very good. And he's also in 42 of the Cintrano's hard stage restrictions. So it's 105 stages. It comes about, well, it's actually more than 105. It's 105 times 5. So of the 500 odd stages of different requirements and restrictions, he supports for about 42. Pretty good for Dragon. We've rated here, which makes sense. He's a poison guy. But yeah, you can come to hellhades.com. You can kind of do this. It'll show you all the things and different multipliers. Pretty good. So 3.8 times attack, 4 times attack shield. He also has a chance to put the poison sensitivity on the target. Haven't managed to book that up just yet. On his core ability, he has a 75% chance to place leech on all enemies, and he instantly activates the debuff on all enemies. Now, this is why I was saying is a little bit different. So even though he attacks a single target, he's effectively doing AoE damage to all enemies here, which is very powerful. We also have this A3 monstrous growth. Before attacking, he's going to place increased accuracy on all allies. Actually wrong here, don't need an increased accuracy. He does satisfy that requirement. I thought that was just for himself. So he does give you a few more access to more trials, which is great. Decrease resistance on all enemies, and then he will place 3 poison debuffs on the initial target, and if the attack is critical, he will place it on all enemies instead. Every single time he activates a poison, he will increase his ignore defense by 20%, and he also fills the champion's turn meter by 5% whenever a poison debuff is placed. So what do we have really as, what can we save him with? Well, there is an interesting option you can do in Arena. Now, I originally went for Nature's Wrath because I was going to do PvE, but we do have some different interesting options here we can do with Lethal Dose, okay? So he's going to place a lot of poisons. So I'm going to switch this over here. He does place a lot of poisons. He's also got Axe in all battles. He has got the Teox passive. What do I mean by the Teox passive? Teox has exactly the same thing. Fills this champion's turn meter by 5% whenever an enemy or ally receives a debuff. So what we can do is do some very clever little mechanics with Calvalax, because Calvalax places all these poisons. If you haven't seen it yet, very dangerous to fight Calvalaxes with this Arachne Elixir. It's very powerful. Now, I've put it on this guy because I want him to basically activate and deal bonus damage with these things. But the interesting part would be if he's not the one that's placing all the poisons, then we should probably put it on both of them, right? Unfortunately, I've not been able to get another Arachne Elixir right now, but if I had another Arachne Elixir, I would absolutely put it on them. What am I cooking up in my brain here right now? Well, right now I've got him with a sort of 35% ignore defense, plus the passive will give him about 55% ignore defense. We've also got him in Helm Smasher, that'll give him another 25%. You can get pretty close to having ignore defense. I only have him in a 1-star soul right now, which is pretty painful because the extra attack would be really helpful, right? Because obviously this scales off your attack. The more attack you get, the more this will be more powerful. And I'm also not fully booked out yet, but I have got his mastery. So what have I built him in? I built him to be reasonably fast, 261, 6.6k attack, high crit damage, good amount of accuracy that I needed for Chimera. I built him for the Chimera build. In terms of masteries here, I pretty much put myself with the standard sort of damage masteries that I thought would be good when, you know, debuffs fall off. And it got me thinking, well, if I can't make it work for Chimera, can we make an arena team out of him? Can we use this Calvalax mechanic to good effect? Well, let's try out. Let's see. So if we go into an arena battle, let's try and find some potential candidates that we can test it on. So let's just test it on a simple team so far. This would be roughly the kind of team that I would run. A Lamassu. Why am I running Lamassu? Because she has this really powerful A3 that gives you 50% turn meter that you can boost with other relics and other sort of different gemstones, and really you can get that up to like 80% if you really want to. We've also got a 5-star banner on here, and we're going to do a 24% aura. So what we can do is when we go to battle, because his passive is going to give him lots of turn meter, I got a huge boost here. I'm way ahead of these people. Now, I got some options. I could, if I want to, use my A3. Why am I saying use the A3? Because if I activate poisons right now, I'm not going to do an awful lot of damage. There's only, you know, it instantly activates all poisons. So it's not going to do an awful lot, right? So if I go in here and I do this, it does a bit of damage, but not huge amounts. However, if I run the battle like this instead, if I basically fight the same fight, and I go in and I do Calvalax, and I basically put poisons out on here, and then I would run some extension and boost him, now we've got tremendous amounts of damage, and I can probably one-shot the team with poison activation. And opens up an interesting opportunity. Now, you will get limited by the obvious. Marichkas, Stone Skins, we all know now these are pretty awful. Now, there's some ways we can get around this, right? We could probably choose to run some sort of poison, a burn option, right? We can probably drop Marichka here, bring in someone like a Sulfurion, right? Great solution for Stone Skin. If we have solutions to Stone Skin, we could bring in an Empress. Because this is what will happen when you have these. So now I kind of in a situation where it's like, okay, well, if I do a critical hit, I can basically put the poisons on everyone. So let's do that. More poisons. We can burn off this. We can boost him. And then we can basically hit him for damage. But we didn't really get rid of this Stone Skin buff. And that's going to be the problem here now. So we're probably going to get absolutely smashed in. But it's okay. He has no damage. But that's just kind of like an example of, I think, maybe where Balar could be okay. There may be some teams that we can do. And I'm not going to go crazy, because I know a lot of people say there's no way that he could be meta. True. But he might offer some interesting ways to build different teams or catch people off guard in sort of situations where there's like siege mode, different things like this. This is going to be a very slow, heavy defense. Probably lots of Stone Skin. Actually, no. So again, we could probably go in on Siphi here. Put a bunch of different things. Look at the damage of this arachnophobe thing. This relic that gives you lots of damage is wild. Honestly, it really is. It does so much damage when it activates. The only reason why they're surviving is pretty much unkillable at this point. And remember, every time a poison gets placed, it's going to speed him along. We are kind of in a boat where we need to get some damage out here. There we go. Some more poisons. Now you can just see how much damage this arachnophobe. Look at that. 50% of his health because of his attack. And I've got quite low attack at the moment. Don't have that extra attack from the blessing. There's probably growth that I could do to get more optimized attack in here. It really will make a huge difference, this arachnophobe. And I think I've only got it like rank 4 at the moment. But pretty much the relic is killing them more than the poison, right? The relic is doing so much. If I had a rank 4 blessing with the relic, you can really start to see how that becomes an extremely powerful mechanic. So there we go. There's the damage coming through. 390,000. Honestly, I think he could be a bit of a secret weapon in Arena. Now, he's not going to work into this type of team. Marichka's going to disable his access straight away. We'll see if there's another type of team here that we can find. You know, this type of team here where they're trying to go first, very good into speed teams. You're going to be able to cut in. And then I can just literally look at the target that's got the most speed. This one or this one's got the most speed. I can choose to just activate. Probably not a good idea. And there you go, look. Now they're literally going to get one shot with that damage. It's powerful. It's actually really cool. And it's kind of a fun team, I'll be honest. I went for Balar the Lost for Chimera. And I've ended up creating a bit of a fun type of team to use that honestly, I think I just would never have thought to use at all. Let's try to break this. There we go. Even if you can't kill your initial target, you can always activate poisons on anyone else. That kind of little cool mechanic where it's a single target, but it's actually AoE, is really kind of unique. It's kind of clever. Now, whether or not we can actually kill and survive against, you know, this very, very powerful nutcracker that we're about to get absolutely annihilated by, is a whole nother matter, but we will try. The fear didn't pay off there. Oof, we're just going to survive. There we go. But it's actually a really fun team. So I guess my summary of the situation is it's actually Balar, the unexpected cause, maybe not the lost cause, but this is actually kind of a fun team that I can keep doing. And the nice thing about poisons are it doesn't really matter how tanky they're going to be. Those poisons are going to wreck. They will absolutely annihilate a Taras. Normally, Taras for an attack-based champion is incredibly hard to kill because he is going to reduce your attack. He's going to hurt you quite a lot. It's normally quite difficult. He doesn't care with poisons. Poisons will purge him and will get rid of him completely. So honestly, Balar the Lost Cause, I would say for Chimera, pretty average. However, for Arena, I actually think he's a bit of a sleeper. Look at that. And I do think it is to do with the relic, and I do think it is also to do with the way that he can AoE activate, and also a good, strong blessing. I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Balar the Lost Cause. What do you guys think about this hero, this champion? Are you still excited if you went for him? Do you think he's still good? Have I unlocked any sort of ideas in your eyes about how you can use him? I do think, you know, he does have his limitations. You are going to have to work around the stone skin options. You know, not everyone has a sulfurian. But I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Are you still excited if you went for him to still, I guess, use him? I mean, we are actually going to die here. I feel like we're about to get Angry Gimli any moment now. Here it comes. Angry Gimli. I'm sure of it. Oh, there it is. So he's not going to solve every problem for you, as I just witnessed there. But he is an interesting option. Let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think of Balar the Lost? Lost cause or unexpected returns? Let me know in the comments below, guys. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video.